It was a dark and stormy night, nor'easter rolling in. It's a long 12 hours, the power's out again. I pray for inner strength and that we don't lose no lives. Just another day in the first responders' eyes. Half a cup of coffee's gone, the first run comes in. A car slid off the road, there's a family trapped within. My heart beats like a hammer, I can barely catch my breath. I'm thinking the worst and hoping for the best. Yeah, we ain't superheroes, we're just ordinary people trying to make a difference, and the first on every scene. It's a heavy, heavy burden to carry all this burden when you can't unsee the things you've seen. It keeps going on when those sirens are gone.
Hey, welcome to the award-winning Mad Radio Show with John and Sam, and we are here to support our heroes and heal our heroes. Welcome, Sam. How are you?
Hey, everybody. Doing great today. A little frustrating day. It's been a frustrating week with all the stories that we're sharing back and forth with some pretty, I don't know any other way to say it, but some just harebrained actions by, I don't want to say even harebrained. It's just curious actions by some of our law enforcement internationally and right here at home.
You know, it's so true. And today's show really hits straight to the point on what's going on in our nation with our law enforcement, with our first responders. You know, today I shared a video of some police officers, Canadian police officers, apprehending a 78-year-old man for blowing his horn because their government is forcing their police officers to uphold these minimal laws, these minimal violations, because they do not want the truckers who are peacefully protesting. So they're sending out these officers almost like the Gestapo or the neo-Nazis and playing them like pawns. You know, and I watched that video a little deeper, and you know, if you see the cops' expressions, I mean, on face value, it looks like the cops were so wrong for doing what they did. But when you look at face value and you look at those cops, they didn't want to do what they were doing. They didn't want to arrest a 78-year-old man. They didn't want to do this. And you can tell by their frustration that they're being ordered to do this. And cops around the nation are being ordered and told to play this game of politics and not do what their job is meant to be, and that's protect and serve. We see this where cops are going into McDonald's and arresting moms with their kids for not wearing face masks. That's not what the police are supposed to be doing. The police are supposed to be taking guns off the street. Police are supposed to be taking drugs off the street. And we see an influx of drugs and guns and nothing being done about it. So as a police officer nowadays, it's got to be the most frustrating and heartbreaking profession, because these guys love their job. You know, I don't know a police officer that does not love his job. I don't know a first responder that does not love their jobs, because if they didn't love their job, they wouldn't be doing it, because nobody in their right mind would lay down their life for the life of another without loving what they do. You know, most police officers don't get paid that much. You know, they're not making millions of dollars. They're barely scraping by. They're working off-duty jobs and gigs, but they love to serve the public. They're cut from a cloth of God that's different than most, and we've talked about this. And I see more and more of these first responders, and it scares me. It scares me that the effects that and the toll it's going to take later on in life. And then I don't know if you saw this video out of California of a school teacher berating a 13-year-old child for wearing a blue line mask. Did you see this?
I didn't see it. I heard about it.
Yeah, and what he told the kid was that's the new Confederate flag. That he was really, and then the kid, when he was interviewed, turned around and said he's really, really confused. The teacher told me that cops will kill me if I do them wrong, or something to that effect. And then I'm thinking to myself, as a child, right? When I was on the job, right, my daughter was so proud that I was a police officer, right? She would take me, second grade, she would be like, listen, my dad's a police officer. He's going to come in for career day. Think about the kids who their parents are police officer in law enforcement today. It's almost like bullying. It's almost embarrassing for a child to go there now and say, my father's a police officer. The kids are getting hit with, well, your parents are murderers. Your parents are racists. Your parents are this. And now look, when I talk about the ripple effect, look at what is going on with our children now. The children of our first responders are being mentally bashed. What kind of effect is that going to have throughout their childhood as they grow and try to learn and try to put all this bizarro world into their head?
Well, so you said it, it's bizarro world, but I think you made a point by starting the show with the video from Canada, and that was a person on scene with their cell phone, getting the camera. And so all of the comments, all of the backlash, everything that is coming at kids, coming at officers, first responders in general, there has to be a line. There has to be a pushback, because if the officers would stop doing stupid shit like arresting 78-year-old great grandfathers for, honking his horn, they changed it and charged him with failure to comply because he wouldn't show his ID. So you see the game. So it doesn't make our jobs easier. It makes our jobs more difficult, because we're put in situations where we're doing dumb stuff. Loudoun County, Virginia. I talked about on last week's show, the principal that wants the cops to come arrest the elementary school kids for not wearing masks. Okay. There has to be as far as I'm concerned, and sure, you and I get to sit behind a microphone now and talk about this stuff. We're not in it, right? Of course, you want to be able to put food on the table. You want to be able to provide for your family. At some point, there is a clear line, and that line has been crossed. And I am asking law enforcement and our first responders out there, people look to you for your guidance, for your wisdom. They want to be able to trust you. You have to act that way. You have to push back, and it's not going to be pretty. But until we restore what it means to be a thin blue line and support and care for our communities, the ripple effect it's like a tidal wave of destruction. And what it leads to is destruction on all sides. We've got a stressed out world, not just United States. We've got stressed out first responders. We've got stressed out first responder families. We've got stressed out first responder supporters, because they're bearing the brunt. If you put a flag out front, like you and I both have. Luckily we live in Texas, so nobody says anything. But if you are in any space where you're seeing what the press wants you to see, which is giving our first responders a really bad name, I'm sorry, you can no longer hide behind we're not Nazi Germany. We went through Nuremberg trials. You can't say, I'm sorry, I was only following orders. That doesn't work.
But you know it as well as I do, and I know we've debated this a lot. Put ourselves back in uniform, put us back out on job. As a first responder, as law enforcement, okay, just like a veteran. All right, you're built and bred to follow orders, right? So what has to happen is these pushbacks can't happen from the regular guys on the street. It has to happen from above. It has to happen from the captains, the lieutenants, and above. It has to happen from the commissioners. The commissioners of our departments and our police chiefs have to have the balls to be able to say, no, my officers aren't doing that. We're putting our officers on the street in bad positions because they're only following orders. Because if they don't follow orders and they don't do it, they're going to be reprimanded. They're going to lose their job, a job that they love, a job that they put their heart and soul into. And that's the hardest thing to do. You can't do that, or they'll be ridiculed by other people within the job, depending on the department you're in. So it's got to come from the police commissioners. It's got to come from the police chiefs. Okay. We can't have the Eric Adams. And I'm sorry, Eric, we worked together, and I know you're a mayor now, and I supported you, but that cracker bit, just you don't, it. And I know you apologize, and got to accept the apology. Everybody's allowed a foobar, but in a world that we're in right now, we can't let those. We have to have balls in our command.
We have to, yes. But why could those police officers today up in Canada, why couldn't they have just been like, he's honking his horn? They didn't have to do anything.
But wait, here's the thing. And maybe I'm reading into it. Maybe I'm just looking as a detective. I'm looking at it a little differently. Okay. That guy was on a side street way off, right? He beat his horn.
Sort of, kind of, because you could see he's still here.
What I'm thinking, and I'm giving the cops the benefit of the doubt, okay? Because looking at the frustration in their faces, this guy passed that trucker convoy, was beeping his horn in support, right? Some chief, somebody said, go get him, pull him over, and lock him up. And those cops followed him.
But it would have to have almost been immediate. For that,
right? But they probably pulled him over later on, down the block after they were ordered to do. I mean, I don't know. I'm speculating. Yeah. I'm trying to give the cops the benefit of the doubt because it did look like they were frustrated prior to that, prior to the pullover. So, there's a lot of stuff going on, and there should be sort of discrepancy. There should be some sort of
they should be allowed to think for themselves, which is the way policing used to be, where you could talk to the person and not have to act in this way for somebody beeping their horn. And I don't know that I'd have so much of a problem with it. You talk about the police officers' faces. I'm looking at their actions, and putting a 78-year-old man in an armbar. I mean, we can argue this all night long. I'm just going to say, because I've been there, no. All
right. Well, I'm going to segue. I'm going to stop this conversation, and I'm going to segue into our guest tonight. And I'm going to let you introduce
discretion. Thank you, DP. That's the word we couldn't find.
Discretion. Thank you. I'm going to segue. I'm going to segue into our guest tonight.
Stress. The stress.
Who has probably interviewed more first responders across the nation than anybody that I know, and has heard the real stories and has felt the impaction across our nation. So without further ado, you want to give our guest a
Oh, I thought you were
welcome?
just gonna
No,
go
I'm
with it because yeah, you keep going. You're doing great.
well, like I said, I think he is one that is going to know what is really on the street. He's had boots on the ground for the last few years, developing a great upcoming documentary on something that we all fight for. Without further ado, please
Yeah, and
welcome.
we had him on the show. We interviewed
Yes.
him
Yeah.
a little bit over a year ago. It was just in the beginning stages of the PTSD 911 documentary. And we're going to talk about the organizations that stepped up to help, how it's going, what it looks like, because we got a clear timeline. It's going to come out and it's going to change people's lives. So Conrad Weaver, welcome back to Mad Radio, the producer, director, connector extraordinaire,
Chief cook and bottle washer.
Thanks for letting me introduce him.
So, and it's really exciting, folks, because Conrad is here in the Dallas area. He came down. We're going to talk about what he's been doing since he got here Monday, and obviously you have very high connections because Mom Nature changed the entire forecast for your arrival. So it was looking pretty bleak with the.
We had a little word, you know.
Absolutely. So, you guys, the comment stream, the live stream is open. So as we're talking to Conrad, please go ahead and ask your questions, and we'll make sure to.
Well, I just want to say thank you for having me on the program. It's so good to be back. It's so good to be in Texas. I mean, it's we're expecting snow back home again this weekend, so I'll be making it back home in time for that. But when I left on Sunday morning, it was 15 degrees at home. So I got here, it's in the 50s. So I'm enjoying this. My wife back home, not so much, perhaps.
Oh man. Well, we're really happy to have you. And I think last time you were on the show, you had just announced that you were creating PTSD 911 documentary. You guys can go back in our the live videos on the Mad Radio YouTube page and look at that podcast. And so tell us where you are now.
Yeah, so we are kind of in eyeball deep into production. We kind of took a break over the holidays for obvious reasons, and then COVID hit our family, and so, but that's behind us. But so we're in production. We're probably a good half to 2/3 of the way into production, and I got a few more trips. I'm here in Texas this week working with the Garland Police Department, because one thing that we're doing with this film is we're highlighting agencies that are doing things right. Not perfect, because no one's perfect, and everyone, has a way to grow. In fact, I had an interview with the chief this morning at Garland Police, and he says, "Hey, we're not perfect. We're trying things that work, and seeing what works, what doesn't work." And so, one thing we want to do with our film is to highlight those agencies that are doing things right, or at least better than others, in order to inspire those who aren't doing anything. And there's quite a few of those, and we've heard those stories. It's just today I was with some folks at North Texas NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and talking to them, and one of their board members I met, and you probably know her story. She lost her husband to suicide a few years ago, and her agency did nothing for her. In fact, took away her insurance the day after her husband died, and it was just a horrible situation. It's like that's not right for someone who served, and wore the badge and served their community for so many years to just be pushed aside. We've got to change some things. We've got to change some things in our police departments. We've got to change some things in our fire and EMS services and in our dispatchers. We have agencies and organizations that say, "Oh, dispatch, they're just civilians. They're not bothered by the stuff that they experience." That's a bunch of bull. And I can prove it to you. I've got the interviews and the stories that prove otherwise. And so I'm excited to be here in Texas, telling the story of an agency that are doing things right, and they have some great things going on. And I'm meeting all kinds of organizations outside of the agency that they are using to help support their officers, and that's just a fantastic way to do it. And last night, bonus for me, I got to go hang out at Station 6, Garland Fire Department, and I got to even hop on a truck and go on a ride on a call. And so that was
Nice.
fun. That's always a bonus for me when I get to do that. So
Nice,
Well,
nice.
let-
Now for the people that didn't see in the last on our show previously, how did you decide? Like, I have got to do a documentary about post-traumatic stress in our first responder community.
yeah, that's a great question. So back in 2016 to 2018, I worked on a documentary back home in Maryland. So I live in Maryland. And I had done a couple of documentaries that took me all over the country and away from home for weeks at a time. And so I thought I need to work on something that's a little more local. And the opioid crisis just really hit hard in our local community there in Maryland. And then a friend of mine, her son was involved in this and was arrested. And I reached out to her and I said, "Hey, what's going on?" And the two of us kind of got our heads together and we decided to do a documentary about the opioid crisis. And in the course of that, I built relationships with our local law enforcement and our local first responders. And I was invited to do ride-alongs with them. And one day I was with our local police department and we got called to an overdose scene. And it was a fatal overdose scene. And I'm going in there with the officers, with the paramedics, and here's a body laying, in the bathroom with needles everywhere and drug paraphernalia. And as a civilian, I haven't seen that before. For those first responders, it was just another Tuesday for them. But for me, it was really jarring to experience that. And on my drive home that day, I started thinking about this, and started thinking about those scenes that we all know that first responders see and experience. And I've had relationships with other, people in law enforcement, people in the first responder community, and I've heard some of those stories. And I thought, how do these things impact our first responders? And so I just simply got on the Google machine and Googled this. And of course, I uncovered this whole issue of post-traumatic stress and that impacts first responders. And in conversations then with my law enforcement friends back home, I asked, so what about this? What's the deal with this? And they said, yeah, it's a huge problem. Said no one really talks about it much, but it's a big problem. And so the next step I always do is I say, okay, who else has told this story? And so I researched that, and there's been a lot of films made about returning veterans and the problems that they've experienced, and great films and serious issues, serious problems there. But very little has been done regarding first responders. And so I thought, this is my next film. And the more I've been working on it now for a little over 2 years, and the more I'm into this, the more I realize this is absolutely one of the most critical issues of our day. And it's first responders are people who give their lives to serve their communities. And we as citizens, need to be aware of how our traumas impact first responders. And like David Black from Cortico said, first responders, we outsource our traumas to them, and they carry that traumas. And I think it's our duty as citizens to help make a difference in some way. And so that's my goal, is to somehow make a difference through this film.
Well, Conrad, let me ask you a question. Before you got it, you keep saying civilians, right? And you bring up a good point where PTSI or PTSD, whichever way you want to call it, is the elephant in the room when it comes to first responders. Nobody wants to talk about it. We want to sweep it under the rug. We don't want to view it. And I think civilians have been so conditioned to what first responders do, and we almost they almost look at first responders as robotic. I call 911. It's like I call 911. Someone's here to help me. I call 911, and they never think it. As a civilian, as yourself, how did you, when you first got a taste of what post-traumatic stress is and started hearing the stories, as a civilian, what did you immediately feel? What came over your body? What did you think?
I really felt, in a way, I felt at a loss, just knowing that first responders, they go to an accident scene, they go to, whatever scene that all of you have experienced, and you have to see that, you have to experience that. I'm like, how does that happen? How can they do that day after day after day? And on the opioid crisis, in our city especially, it was just every day. Every day there was another overdose. Every day, and sometimes it was the same people. And so obviously those aren't as horrific as many scenes are. And just a few years ago, maybe 8 or 9 years ago, we had a horrible kind of murder suicide in our community, and I immediately thought about, this is way before this project came to be, and back then I was thinking, holy cow, these paramedics, these sheriff deputies, these officers, investigators, detectives going into that scene, it was a whole family, a murder suicide, and I could not have possibly imagined how I would have lived with that, having to go into that scene. And so those are things that drive me and motivate me to tell these stories.
Because most people don't see that. They see the accident scene, they see the cops, and they're like, "Oh, traffic," but they don't understand that it's a fatality. Or they see the yellow tape and they see cops walking around doing their thing. Oh, it's just another murder. But they don't understand that cops are visualizing that. Every paramedics and firefighters are visualizing that every day. But what I'm kind of saying is vicarious trauma. You have heard probably more traumas than most, right? And maybe not seen all the traumas, but those mental visions are still in your head, right? And I don't mean to get personal, but how are you doing, and how's it affected you over the span of this documentary?
Yeah, I appreciate you asking, and that's a really good question, and that's something that I wrestle with on a regular basis. I'm a person of faith, so I rely on my faith to carry me through. I have a fantastic relationship with my wife, and we were very close. And in fact, we were just on the phone right before I came on the air here. And I keep my friends close, and I work hard to prepare my mind, and that's something I've really and looking. I'm thinking of this right now. For the past 3 years, maybe 4 years, I've been doing some mental work. And this started way before this project came to be. And I'm thinking now maybe that has started to prepare me for what I'm experiencing and hearing. But I've been working on myself, mentally to kind of condition my brain to think better thoughts. Because as one person once said, our life moves in the direction of our strongest thoughts. And so I've really been training my brain through the books that I read, the podcasts I listen to people I surround myself with, to really get myself in a good place mentally. And I work out almost every day, not quite every day. My wife and I have a thing that we have done it most of our marriage. We're celebrating 30 years this summer, so we're excited about that.
Congratulations.
We walk just about every day together, sometimes up to 3 or 4 miles, and that has really bonded our relationship. And I call this time together our heart time. So it's good for our heart physically because we're walking and getting some exercise, and it's good for our heart as a couple, And so I think those kind of things have kind of prepared me for dealing with some of these things that I've heard. However, I will say that I have been thinking about and moving toward finding a therapist that I can just go and talk to myself, just to have someone that's a professional who can understand these things, so that I can share, what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling, and just work through some of those things. And so that's on my agenda for in the next couple months to find a therapist to connect with, to just to have those conversations that I think I probably need to have at some point.
That's fantastic.
Me and Sam have always discussed this, and when the music ends, right? It's like when the job ends, when you retire, or your deployment's over, and there's no more mission. So when this documentary finally gets out there, and Conrad is now not there on the front lines. Are you going to immerse yourself into another project? Are you going to be able to get that mental health stability back, that from all these years of hearing the trauma? We don't want that to affect you as well.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. I'll be there holding up my Oscar, so I'll be enjoying that.
I hope so.
Yes.
I do too, for what it's worth. No, I'm actually in the process right now I'm developing a new thing. So I have as you and your listeners may know, I have a podcast called the PTSD911 Presents podcast that is actually playing simultaneously with this. So I'm in two places at once right now. But that's a pre-recorded show, obviously. But so I've been doing that. But I also have another podcast that I launched a few years ago. And I just rebranded it this year. It's called the Explore Purpose Podcast. And so I bring on guests we talk about purpose and meaning in life. And so it's really been great for me. I often bring on people that I want to learn from. So it's free advice, So
That's right.
I get these amazing people on. Some people I've met across the years. Some people I've just read their books and reached out to them and they said yes to an interview. And so, but through that, I'm actually developing a new business that, one of my goals is to inspire people to live with purpose and meaning. And one of our audiences that we're going to focus on are people who are in the retirement years, so 50 and older, who are looking at their end run and saying, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go golfing. Well, how much golfing can you do before you get bored, right? And
some people can do it a lot.
Some people can do it a lot. No diss on golfing, because I enjoy a good golf game myself every once in a while. But I really think, and especially first responders, and this is something I talked to a friend the other day, that maybe we should focus on first responders and really make that one of our primary clients, that we can help first responders discover purpose and meaning for their years of retirement, where it's not just it's not just,
it is fascinating because it is work, it is exploration. We need to work better at shifting the mindset of, you are Conrad, who is a police officer. You're Conrad, who's a first responder, whatever your job is, but you're Conrad. Okay. Yeah. And so, we mentioned the book Separating from Service. There's a lot of, okay, I'm retired now. I'm not the badge. What am I? Who am I?
Yeah.
Because we're so immersed in this, and there are some in the veteran space who have used a lot of different, I'll call it recreational therapy, of really taking the person and reconnecting them with Conrad person, Conrad human being on this earth. Because it's not about what you did for 20, 30, 40 plus years. Part of your life was that, but what are you now? And the ability to really come to grips with that and shift the perspective of what you have to give to the world from your experience, right?
Yeah. Can I jump in on that?
No, John, I am going deep here.
I'm raising my hand.
You have to ask permission to speak on your show, by the way.
Before I forget the question, I already forgot it. No, I think it's great. And, we, as first responders, we lose our identity. And like you said, we lose Conrad, we lose John, we lose Sam, we lose our identity. There's no other field, there's no other profession in the world where you are immersed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And, you know, Eric Adams said it, you're a cop 24 hours a day. So when, you know, when neighbors see you, hey, there's John the cop. Hey, there's Sam the cop. Hey, there's Conrad the cop. You get that into you. So if you do 30 years of service, right, or even 20 years of service, teaching an old dog new tricks is very hard. So to grab this at the end at retirement is not going to help. We have to condition our officers and our first responders at the very beginning. We have to teach them at the academy level. We have to teach them at the applicant investigation level. This is what you're signing up for. But you know what? We're going to keep you mentally healthy throughout your whole career. And we're going to teach you how to not lose your identity, how to not to lose your self-focus. Because if 2 years before retirement, we decide to say, all right, now what are we going to do? Right. We're not prepared. And that's not enough time. That's not enough time. We have to condition, and it may be too late for some, but for the new generation of first responders coming up, we have to condition them from the very, very beginning throughout their careers. So this way they are mentally prepared the day of retirement.
Yeah. Well, I say it's never too late, because, you know, that's the beauty of being able to always have the ability to learn, right? It just takes you really buying into the fact that you're transitioning. And David just said here in the comments that his own experience when he retired last year after 35 years. Conrad, I don't know if you met any like law enforcement from Texas. There are people that have been in the job for 40 years. It's really quite. So David, 35 years. And sometimes it feels like you just come to an abrupt halt. Yes. Because especially as a first responder, because John, you've spoken to this. Conrad, I know that you've interviewed people. It's like, okay, I've poured my heart and soul into my community, into my job, you know, sacrificed a lot. And when it's retirement, it's like, bye, have a nice one. And then it's
so now they don't have any purpose. There's
you
nothing
stay in
to get
touch
up
with
for.
the guys, and I do mean women, the guys, you know, your unit, whatever it was, and then that slowly starts to fade because you're not a unit anymore, right? So it's the same thing with the military, with veterans. You may have served in a specialized team. Okay, you maybe retire, or you're medically retired because something happened, and you're not part of that team anymore, and it's now, what do I do? And so, Conrad, that's awesome. Yes,
that's, you know, it's and part of that whole exploration of this new idea comes out of my you know, me looking at myself, saying, okay, I'm 56 years old. I don't have too many more documentaries in me. I'm getting too old to schlep gear everywhere. It's getting harder, you know, to schlep all this camera gear everywhere. And especially when you don't have enough funds to hire a whole crew to do it for you. And so I'm thinking, okay, do I have one more? Or is this my last one? So what can I do? And I've really started to develop this passion for helping others discover purpose. And so that's kind of what I'm working on. I'm developing that. It's a whole business model that I'm developing. Got some exciting things kind of happening in the background that I hope to be able to talk about sometime. But if people want to learn more about all that, go over to look for Explore Purpose. Go to explorepurpose.com, and you can find all about that podcast and what I'm doing there. And I'm even having an insider group that we are going to launch a Zoom meeting for Explore Purpose insiders who want to kind of dive deeper into these ideas and have private discussions about that. So really excited about that. But first, I got to finish a movie. And I gotta get this thing.
So John, do you want to? When do you want to show the trailer? Like, is this a good time to?
Yeah, I just want to bring up one thing that Conrad. There's an interview, and this is where it hits me a little bit. You were interviewing a firefighter. He was on. He was in the firehouse, and he said he was in a constant hypervigilant state. Mm-hmm. You know, and he didn't look like a young firefighter. He looked like he was maybe on his. You know, he was seasoned. Mm-hmm. And he said, my body is in a constant hypervigilant state, and I don't know how I can get out of it. And that goes to conditioning. Somebody failed him and didn't, we should not be in that state. We should not be in that hypervigilant state because it's hard to get out of once we retire, you know. And when we lose that connection with everything, it becomes even worse, because now we're grasping at straws to try to find it. So, but I just wanted to, before I forget.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no, that's a great segue.
Yeah, we're, the stories we're telling. So just to kind of a nutshell, we have three primary characters in our film. We have a firefighter, a police officer, and a dispatcher who we're working with. We're kind of tracking with those three people. And then we're bringing kind of supporting characters or cast around them sort of to kind of help, fill out the story. But then we're focusing on those agencies, like I said earlier, that are really doing things, well to really inspire change. And I have three goals for this film. One is to raise awareness so the general public can better understand what first responders do and who you are. And the second goal is to help break the stigma of asking for help as a first responder. We know that's a problem. Suck it up has been the motto for too many years. And I want to be able to help break down that stigma, to show these stories of people who have raised their hand and said, hey, you know what, I need help, and make that to be okay. The third thing we want to do, and probably the most hardest goal that we have, is to inspire change in agencies. That's a big ships take a long time to turn. And I think, even in the 2 years that I've been working on this, I have started to see the momentum shifting the right direction. It's very slow, very subtle, but I hear more and more conversations like we're having tonight about these things. Last week I was at the National FOP Wellness Summit. It's their third annual wellness summit, and it's growing every year. These are leaders, in law enforcement who come together to talk about these important issues, and they bring research, they bring experts who have studied this and show the numbers, and then provide help and resources for agencies to take back to these leaders to take back to their agencies so they can do better. So I'm seeing the needle change, move in the right direction, which is a great thing. And hopefully,
it's better than going backwards.
We can absolutely.
Any move forward is much better than going back.
And just a shout out to the National FOP. They have come on as a brand new sponsor for us. They have said yes to endorsing this film and putting some money behind it, and we're so grateful for their support and for them to see the vision for this film. And they don't just give money to anybody, and we're really honored that the National FOP has said yes to helping us.
That's fantastic.
And I'm really excited to share that.
Okay, so let's take a look.
Let's take a look at the trailer.
Let's take a look. All right.
I went to a really dark place in my mind where suicide became an option. I was going through a divorce. I had lost a lot of relationships with people, and I was isolating.
While I was trying to heal from the traumas that had put me in the position that I was in, I suddenly lost all the support of all the guys I worked with.
Yeah, shots fired. Shots fired on both the roof. Starting him up.
I felt guilty that he died.
About 15 minutes in, I'm just listening, and all you can hear is just people screaming. I was only 2 years into my career with Boston at this point.
I was so hypervigilant, and I couldn't shut my brain off.
They told me that I had PTSD and that they would give me some pills that would basically remove me from my feelings.
First responders are the toughest of the tough. They're the strongest of the strong, the most resilient people in our society. And they heroically sign up for these very, very difficult jobs in which, as a society, we outsource all of our trauma to them.
I remember the moment I was like, okay, I was up all night. It was just trauma after trauma after trauma. The novelty of the job wore off really quick.
I couldn't think of how to get help without ruining my job.
There's a stigma in the profession that creates a barrier, a stigma in their agencies that prevents them from getting the help they need.
I didn't have somebody to talk to. I didn't have somebody that understood.
There was a part of me that said, okay, pick up the phone, call this person. This is how you're going to get yourself out of this skillfully and safely.
I look back at that period of my life, and I just felt so completely, utterly isolated.
My ego wants to stop me from doing that. It wants to tell me, you got this. You don't need to let anybody know that this is going on.
And that's why I didn't know where to turn, and I beat myself up because I thought, I am such a mess, and I'm the only one.
I have 4 years till retirement, and I gotta be okay, and I gotta make it.
Right now our profession is being challenged. We're going through a really, really difficult season. There's no time like the present where officer wellness has to be your number one priority. We have to do a better job as leadership in our profession to understand that is what we're dealing with, people. And I think it's really important that is our number one resource, and that it has to be our number one priority moving forward if we want to change this profession.
We're just coming into our second year now of really teaching structured training in wellness, mental health to the Firefighter Academy. Okay, I'm open to trying something different. If you'd told me 4 years ago or 3 years ago I was doing yoga, I'd have laughed in your face. If I could plant seeds throughout the state of wellness, it'll get out there and start permeating and changing the culture.
Man, it's so much better when you have really amazing people in your life that you can walk through this stuff with. You don't have to do it alone.
Yes. Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, John, but just watching myself in that, especially the isolation part. And I wanted to ask, how is Desiree doing? Because when we first saw her, I think we had the first trailer from the last time you were on. I think like almost 2 years has gone by, right? So she's 2 years now closer to retirement.
It's been a journey. I don't want to give away all the story, but it's been a very, very, very difficult journey. I'll put it that way.
Conrad, let me ask something. Without calling out anybody, I don't want you to mention anybody or call anybody, but when we talk about the mental health programs throughout our departments I feel that the most lacking is within our 911 dispatch. Do you feel the same way with everything that you've
certainly
out?
that has been the case. However, I think that it's probably changing there. In some places, it's changing there faster than in other places. There's a really strong network. The National Emergency Number Association, NENA, and there's another APCO, I think it's called. They're very forward-thinking in providing resources and training. There's a whole group they meet regularly to talk about these things. One of the leaders in this is on my advisory board, and he's really a big proponent of getting this education to 911 dispatchers. And so I'm really seeing a coming together of the minds there, and really focused on working with dispatch. And I was at the NENA convention last summer in Columbus, Ohio, and many of the events there were talking about these things. And so it was a welcome thing to see and to hear. So I think that while they have been the forgotten behind the scenes people, fortunately, there's a movement behind them now to really bring this to them, and they're really excited about this film and about being included. And I wasn't thinking about dispatch. Again, they're unfortunately the hidden behind the screen, behind the scenes, and it was brought to my attention by a firefighter who's actually he's the president of our local fire company. We're back in Emmitsburg, Maryland. And he said, have you thought about dispatch? And I said, no, tell me about that. He said, well, I'm a dispatcher. And he kind of went into the whole scene. I was like, well, of course I need to include dispatch in this film. And that's where that came from. So, fortunately that we are including them. The storylines that we're following there are fantastic, and it's amazing work that's being done to help our dispatchers. I'm still waiting to get the invite to do a sit along with an agency, and there's a couple agencies that have said sort of yes. They have to run it up the flagpole to the chain of command and get approvals. But and then COVID. But to one of these days, I'll be able to sit there in the room and put a headset on and listen to those calls come in myself. Because I like to do that. I like to take a deep dive into the culture. And just a word on a deep dive. Yesterday, I think one of your sponsors is an organization that has horses.
Yes.
Yes.
And so
our watch.
Yeah, and so I was invited out there yesterday and went out there to the ranch and got to meet some of the horses and got an interview with Dr. T. And then they asked me, "Do you want to go into the ring with the horse and experience this?" And I was like, "Absolutely, I would love to do that."
Yeah.
And it was amazing. I mean, I just want to give a shout out to those folks because just being near that horse and sensing the horse respond to me. And as I relaxed, the horse relaxed.
I'm getting chills.
It was just...
That was life-changing. That was actually life-changing for me, that 5 minutes in that pen with that horse. Right, Sam?
We watched John go through a transformation when we were up there. And, after we're picking our jaws up off the ground, it's like, oh wait, it's my turn. It's like, it was.
I'm from New York. I wasn't around horses, and our watches. I really commend those ladies and that organization for everything they put into it, along with Dr. T, because when we talk about resource, it's something I would have never ever thought of. It's something keep trying. The couch may not work, but horses may. Horses may not work, but water may. And that really, really changed a lot. For the first time in probably 25 years, and when I talk about hypervigilance, for the first time in about 25 years, I was able to experience what life was without hypervigilance.
Wow.
My whole body got centered, and I never felt that before. And I still get the chills now just thinking about it. So, yeah, kudos to our watch. Horses are amazing, amazing. Still scare the hell out of me. They're amazing.
We've had a couple of guests on, Nate, John, a couple of weeks ago, where Asa went from the military to being a police officer. Now he's back full time in the Guard, and it wasn't until he got around horses that he understood how he couldn't behave, because the horses, they don't let you get away with it.
Right.
So he had a choice, and he really learned, and through that teaching from an animal, he wants to do a lot for first responders with the equine therapy. And I just say it's if we could as humans take a step back, close our mouths and watch our four-legged friends, whatever four-legged friends are in your life, watch how they respond to you, and just be quiet with them. Oh, we can learn a whole lot about ourselves.
Yeah.
Well, that was another thing. You guys, you got to experience Patriot Paws today, right?
I did. I went out to Patriot Paws.
Oh,
and
see there?
That was so fun.
It's a carpool.
That was so much fun just to go out there, and it made me a little homesick because we have a Labradoodle at home that I'm missing right now, and but I got to be around just a whole bunch of really cute little dogs, and watching what they do with those dogs and how they train them, and even this 2-month-old pup, was already responding to commands, and it was really fascinating, and hearing. Then I got to meet Chris, who is he works with NAMI, and he has a dog, and I got to meet his dog, and I heard a little bit of his backstory. Dale, yes, Dale the dog.
Yeah, I'm typing. I'm like, oh, we got to shout out to this. Oh, we got to shout out to this.
I love Dale. Dale is the best dog in the world.
Dale's awesome. Yeah, and he has a higher rank than Chris does. So. Because they said that a service dog to a military person, they always have a higher rank than their handler. So yeah,
They're in
they're
command.
in command. But yeah, and so we're filming these things because we want to show that there's not just one path. There's not one path to wellness. There's many paths, and just we had a similar thing when I was working on the opioid crisis and helping people through addiction. There's many paths to sobriety, and so just like if you're struggling with or PTSD, there's many paths to healing. It may not be a horse, it may not be a dog, it may be something else, maybe EMDR, it may be some other modality, it may be 5 days at Save a Warrior or another type of retreat place like that. That may be what does it for you. And so we want to highlight these things that are working for people. And so it's a privilege for me to be able to do these things and to experience them myself. I can't wait to do EMDR. I'm going to do an EMDR session one day and experience that myself. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, we have a question. How does someone get into Our Watch? And what you can do is you go to Our Watch TX. Whoops, see, I'm already messing that up. Let's see, Our Watch TX .org, and you can. I spelled Our Watch wrong. Gosh, John, help me out here as I type.
It looks right to me.
If you just Google Our Watch,
Our Watch
if you Google Our Watch and horses, you'll find it.
Yeah.
So.
And you can go on their website and you can see the programming, and you can pick up the phone, give them a call, or see what their upcoming schedule looks like, and go ahead and register. They work with first responders and first responders' families.
That's the cool thing that I was really impressed with, that they not only work with the first responders, but their families as well. They include their families, which is so, so important.
They do the small little groups. They'll do like individuals, and they'll do the small groups, which is, I think that's something that should be offered all around.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So Conrad, I mean, I'm not too much into production. I don't know what production time frames are. When are we going to be blessed with the documentary coming out? When can we look forward to it?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I guess this is, I've talked about this kind of in groups here and there, but I kind of threw my hat over the fence, an old cowboy thing. You throw your hat over the fence, now you got to go get it. So I set a date. October 28th is National First Responder Day. And my goal, if everything comes together and stars align or whatever the terms are, is to have a national premiere of the film in Washington, D.C. on National First Responder Day this year. So I have a lot of work to do between now and then. And then what we want to do, so we have a multi-level tiered release of this. So it'll be in D.C., it'll probably be on the West Coast. We're going to come here to the Metroplex here in Texas to since I'm working with Garland, we'll probably do something in the area here around that time as well. And then we're going to do a global premiere on a streaming platform where you can buy a ticket, see the film. It'll be streamed live, and we're going to do a Q&A session, bring in a VIP host who's going to host that Q&A session live with some experts. And then we'll be booking events around the country. So if you're in Tupelo, Mississippi, and you want to have the film come to your city, we'll have a place on our website where you can go fill out a form and get the film brought to your city. Then we're also working with the International Critical Incident Stress Foundation, the ICISF, and we're developing a toolkit that will go around the film. So we'll have the movie, and then we'll have other resources that will go with the film, and we'll package that so that agencies, individuals, people can purchase that for a small fee to use as training in your agency. And so we're doing some other things that I can't talk about right now that are really super exciting that I wish I could talk about, but really exciting things going on with this. And so just if you want to be on the inside or get the inside scoop, sign up on our website for our emails and go to PTSD911movie.com and click on subscribe, and you'll be an insider, and you'll get all the update information from us. And so So that's the
Great.
best way to learn. So it's coming. It's just going to take some time yet to do it.
We are so excited. We are so looking forward to it. We can't wait. I think the film is going to bring a new outlook and a new insight to PTSD. I think a lot of departments are going to be able to, when we start showing stuff on film, we can kind of take that elephant out of the room and we make everybody feel more comfortable. So I think your film is going to be groundbreaking when it comes to mental health and breaking the stigma. I think this is going to be an amazing step, a huge leap forward for many first responders out there. And God bless you, and thank you so much for putting the time in for this.
Well, it's a privilege to do this, and I get the opportunity to do this. That's the way I look at it. It's an opportunity that I couldn't say no to, and so and if anyone's out there and they want to throw some support behind us, we're still raising money to even to do this thing, and because I'm not getting paid to do this, it's just something I have a little bit of funding to travel, but that's running out soon. So if anyone wants to make a donation, there's also a link on our website. You can make a donation toward the film and be a part of it that way. But we're going to get to the end zone. We're going to make a movie, and it'll come out later this year, and I can't wait to share it to the world.
Oh, we can't wait to see it. And we thank you so much for really taking this to heart and shining a light on something that's painful to talk about for those that stepped up to be part of the documentary, but no, they all know in their hearts, like John and I know, and all our partners with the Badge of Honor know, that it's like you got to tell your story, because that's where you change not only your life but the lives of others. So
and I've seen it. I've had people tell me that every time I tell my story, it brings me closer to healing, and so I think there's a lot of truth to that. So
absolutely. So I put it up there, PTSD911movie.com. Go there, click on subscribe. You can also donate to help out. Conrad, any last words?
No, I want to say, if you're a first responder and you are struggling, reach out to someone who can help you. There is help out there. There's hope out there, and you don't have to go through this alone. There are resources that people who want to help, people who are trained to help, and so don't go through this alone. Reach out and find some help.
Well said. Awesome. Thank you, Conrad.
And thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate y'all having me on tonight.
And we'll help you in any way we can. We have your fix.
All right. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
All right.
Take care.
Take care. Safe travels back to Maryland.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, wow. That, I'm going to mark it on the calendar. I'm going to cross off days. It's like, it's almost here. It's almost, I'm like a kid in a candy store.
I'm like, let's throw a watch party,
well, there you go, John. You just put it out there. So we'll be coordinating with Conrad to make that watch party happen. Perhaps maybe we have some relationships with some theaters or something like that, and we'll figure it out. Or anybody listening or watching that has connections with a theater, just let us know. This is so needed, and it takes true partnership. It takes hard work. It takes commitment. It takes knowing that this is your purpose, to doing a film like this, and to really be invested in calling out PTSD for what it is, what it looks like as a first responder, and then what the healing looks like. Because John, you and I know there's a lot of departments out there that do smoke and mirrors.
Yep.
And when a suicide occurs in their ranks, then they're left with, oh, well, we didn't do what we said we were supposed to do. And
Well, that's
so
why
so everybody loses, right?
I commend Conrad on everything he's doing, because he's getting to see firsthand, and I'm the good and the bad, and he's able to evaluate and see where the where the shortcomings are, and where the pitfalls are within mental health. And I think, like I said, I think this film is going to bring out so much to help other departments and leap forward. And this is a huge step for a lot of first responders, especially dispatchers, and maybe call out those departments that are just doing the smoke and mirrors, and that aren't really providing what they should be providing for their officers. And I think this film is going to stop that. I think it's going to help break the stigma, and it's going to help those departments that are failing their officers.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they'll realize that once they see it, they'll feel it, right? They'll feel that obligation. And you know who else is there to help? I'm wearing the shirt right here, Honor Our Heroes. I can't say enough about not only what we're doing, but really, I just realized that my banner just completely went away. Carry the Load. They have been. Let me put this up here. They have been leading the way.
I didn't get my T-shirt yet.
Yes. So how do you get this T-shirt?
I didn't get my T-shirt yet.
You didn't, right? Well, nobody got their T-shirt yet. So this is from last year, which is celebrating 10 years here. And what Carry the Load, their mission and why they started was to recognize the veterans out there in our military. And what they realized very early on was that first responders, whether it be line of duty death or suicide, are right in the mix with that. So this organization gives back in so many ways. And the way that they do this is by strategic partnerships with organizations like ours, like a Badge of Honor. And so what it allows us to do not only is to be involved, and I've been involved raising money for Carry the Load since 2015. And this year we, meaning a Badge of Honor, was named a nonprofit partner. So what does that mean for all the first responders out there? Well, first of all, we got vetted out the wazoo. It was a months-long vetting process. We were chosen. Not a lot of organizations were chosen to be part of this. And what that means is through Carry the Load, we get to expand our mission. We get to do more for first responders and first responder families out there. So folks on Facebook, I put the fundraiser out. So thank you to those of you who've donated directly. What I did tonight before the show, if you'd like to help out Carry the Load and a Badge of Honor directly, which means you're helping out our military, our veterans, our first responders, everybody, okay? That's what it truly means. You get to, it says, who are you carrying? That's the motto, okay? Because we're carrying because they can't anymore, because they're not with us. If you want to be part of this groundbreaking movement, all you have to do is look at the Mad Radio Facebook page, look at a Badge of Honor's Facebook page, and I have shared our Facebook fundraiser on those pages, so there's no mystery. We're going to be sharing it across Facebook, across Twitter, across LinkedIn. But we want you, just like Conrad went out there. It's about relationships. It's about meeting people. It's about healing a community, and we can't do it as individuals. We do it together, aligned with a purpose so that we don't have to talk about another suicide, so that we have families that know they're supported. God forbid their loved one dies in the line of duty. You have a safety net of nonprofit partners and a incredible organization. Carry the Load's also a nonprofit, and we've all got each other's backs, and we've all got your alls out there in StreamYard, Facebook, YouTube land. We've got your back. So please consider, any amount is greatly appreciated, and know that it absolutely is going to a phenomenal cause. And if you want to check it out, it's carrytheload.org, and you can read about what they do. And John, I just, you and I both, we talked about, what a privilege it is to be able to be partnered, complete honor, partnered with them. And so we'll be there in Dallas for the Dallas Memorial March, which is over the Memorial Day weekend. So that Sunday, Monday. Last year, in the midst of COVID, it was like 10,000 people. So nothing stops the mission, right? Absolutely. Right. So for all of you first responders out there, hey, we've got a workshop coming up. If you are in driving distance to East Texas, so 2 hours to East Texas, abadgeofhonor.com, the registration link is up there. February 23rd. It's all about post-traumatic stress awareness and suicide prevention. 8-hour workshop made just for you. You get 8 hours of T-call, and the best thing, because people keep telling me, breakfast and lunch. And I would be remiss, we're in East Texas, right, to say that I just logged on to their site. They're like, hey, we'll do a donation. If you like barbecue, I'm just saying you want to come out, because Stanley's famous pit barbecue, and they are famous. They are graciously donating lunch to all of the first responders in attendance. And Chick-fil-A Lindale, thank you so much for your continued support. They'll be supplying breakfast. So, hey, just saying, learning, food, it's all, packaged.
Not only that, I want to thank Megan Bolin from Carrollton Springs, because today she just gave me all the journals. So more tools for your toolbox.
Yes.
So thank you to Carrollton Springs, because journaling is a huge part of healing. And they were so gracious enough to provide us with the journal. So thank you to Carrollton Springs and Megan for coming out and helping us out tonight.
Yeah, one of our key partners. Again, we it's about partnership. We're not islands. We don't do this by ourselves. And so thank you guys for joining us this week for this really special, this just incredible film coming out. We'll be back next week with a fantastic show, and appreciate all your support, all of your shout outs. Again, check out our Facebook pages for more information. To all of our military out there, thank you for what you do. Thank you for keeping us safe here at home by fighting for our freedom, for standing for something, and continuing the fight. We've got your back. And to all of our first responders out there, we are praying for you every day, for our first responders down at the Texas border. You absolutely are not alone in this fight. Please reach out. DPS has a wonderful program for you. If you don't know about it, you have one. Please reach out to them. It's VESS. To every other first responder who's fighting the fight here at home to keep us safe, but also battling everything that you can't unsee. and can't unexperience. We know what you're going through. We've been there. We've got your back. We're your safety net. Please reach out for help if you need it. Don't let another day go by. Make that phone call. John, take us home.
All right. Well, what I'm going to say is, Mad Radio 100% supports Conrad Weaver and the new PTS911 movie and documentary that's coming out. We urge everybody in the listening area to donate as whatever you can afford to that foundation, to the movie, because this will be a huge step in helping so many first responders. I think this is, you want to help, you want to be part of something that's bigger than yourself. Take $10, take $20, donate it to the PTS movie found PTS D911 movie documentary, and let's get that movie finished. Let's get it out there, and let's help and all be a part of it, because it affects each and every one of us. I want to thank Conrad Weaver. Sam, I want to thank you as always. I want to thank Carry the Load, all our supporters, Our Watch, Patriot Pause, the V-Rock, Heroes Memorial Bridge Foundation, and everybody else who is that I may have forgotten about. Thank you. Stay blessed. And to our first responders, like Sam says, keep the fight up. Things will change, and you are not alone. We got your six.
Till next week, everybody. Bye-bye.